Hello children, welcome back to English class. Invest your time wisely. It will bring you the greatest wealth. Children, we should not waste our time. We should use it wisely. If we do so, it will bring us knowledge and wisdom, which is the greatest wealth in the world. In our previous video, we saw about the cock and the anthem story from supplementary reader, and also we learned about the articles, types of articles, uses of definite and indefinite articles, and the zero article. In our today's class, we are going to do fifth chapter from supplementary reader, Golu grows a nose, and also verbs from grammar. Now let's see about the author. Joseph Rudyard Kipling was an English journalist, short story writer, poet and novelist. He was born on 30th December 1865 in India and died on 18th January 1936 in London. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. The Jungle Book, Just So Stories, Kim, Captains Courageous are some of his notable works. This story tells us how the elephant got its trunk. Long ago, the elephant had a big protruding nose instead of a trunk. Golu was a baby elephant and a very curious one. He wanted to know why the ostrich could not fly like other birds. He was curious about why giraffes have spots on their skin. He asked the hippopotamus why his eyes were red. He asked the baboon why melons taste the way they do. None of the animals had answers to Golu's questions. They had no answers to his questions and called him naughty. One day, Golu asked the myna what crocodiles dine on. She told him to go to the Limpopo River and find out for himself. So, Golu took lots of sugar canes, bananas and melons and set off for the Limpopo River. On the way, he met a python. He asked the python what a crocodile looked like because he had never seen a crocodile. The python uncoiled himself but did not say anything. He walked until he finally reached the grassy Limpopo River. He saw a log of wood on the grassy river bank and asked the log whether it had seen a crocodile. The log was actually the crocodile himself. The cunning crocodile told Golu that he was indeed a crocodile and asked Golu to come closer. Golu asked the crocodile what he had for dinner. The crocodile told Golu he would whisper the answer in his ear. When Golu put his head close to the crocodile's snout, the crocodile caught his nose. The python had been following Golu. He told Golu to pull hard, otherwise the crocodile would drag him into the river. Both Golu and the crocodile pulled as hard as they could. Golu's nose kept getting longer with the pulling. The python coiled himself around Golu's stomach and together they pulled very hard. When Golu finally managed to pull his nose free, it was 5 feet long. Golu's nose hurt badly. He wrapped a banana leaf around his nose and dipped it in the water. After 2 days, the pain in his nose reduced, but his nose did not shrink. When a fly stung Golu on his shoulder, He slapped it with his long nose, which was now a trunk. He plucked a big bundle of grass easily using his trunk and put it in his mouth after dusting it off. The sun was too hot, so he picked up some mud and splashed it on his head. The python helped Golu to see many benefits of having a trunk. Golu thanked the python and left to return to his family. Moral of the story is experience is the best teacher. In our story, Golu is very curious about everything. Curiosity can lead to dangerous experiences, but experience is also the best teacher. At the end, all is well that ends well. Children, I hope you have understood the story. Read the story in your textbook. If you don't have book with you, I will send you the PDF file of this lesson. Verbs. A verb is a word or group of words that describes an action. It tells us what a person is, does or has. There can be no sentences without verbs. Example, a plumber repairs pipes. He is a kind man. An auto rickshaw has 3 wheels. In the first sentence, the verb tells us what a person does. In the second sentence, the verb tells us what a person is. In the third sentence, the verb tells us what a thing has. So, a verb tells us what a person does, is or has. Subject-verb agreement. We have already learnt about subject. Subject is the person or thing who is performing the action. Here, in a sentence, a verb must agree with its subject in number. This is called subject-verb agreement. The rules for singular and plural verbs are different from the rules for singular and plural nouns. Verbs that end with the letters S or ES are singular. Mala eats slowly. Shivam plays the tabla in the morning. Both eats and plays are singular verbs. Verbs that do not end with the letters S or ES mean plural. Mala and Ravi eat slowly. Shivam and Ankit play the tabla in the morning. Both eat and play are plural verbs. Singular subjects take singular verbs. My cat likes my bed. She is sleeping. Here the singular subject cat takes the singular verbs likes and is. Plural subjects take plural verbs. Here the plural subject cats take the plural verbs like and are. There are many rules for subject-verb agreement. Now let's see some of them. First, subjects joined by and or as well as usually take a verb in the plural. I repeat it, children. Subjects joined by and or as well as usually take a verb in the plural. Let's see the example. The cow and its calf are in shed. Renu as well as her grandparents have gone out. Here the subjects are joined by and as well as. So the verbs are plural, are and have. Next, if the subjects are both singular and are connected by or, neither nor, either or and but also, the verb is singular. I repeat it, children. If the subjects are both singular and are connected by or, neither nor, either or and but also, the verb is singular. Neither Anish nor Monish is in office. Here, the subjects are both singular and they are connected with neither nor, so they take the singular verb is. Next, if one subject is singular and one plural and both are connected by or, nor, neither nor, either or, and but also, the verb agrees with the subject nearest to it. If one subject is singular and one plural and both are connected by or, nor, neither nor, either or, and but also, the verb agrees with the nearest subject. Example, either you or your brothers are lying. Second example, neither Meenu nor her friend is correct. Here in the first sentence, there are two subjects, you and brothers. One subject is singular and another one is plural. But the verb agrees with the subject nearest to it. Words such as mathematics, news, gymnastics, information, etc. take a singular verb. I repeat it, children. Words such as mathematics, news, gymnastics, information, etc. take a singular verb. Example, the sports news is playing on television. No information was given to us about the meeting. The word news is considered as singular, so it takes a singular verb. The word information is never used in plural, so it takes singular verb. Next, collective nouns may be singular or plural depending on their use in the sentence. I repeat it, children. Collective nouns may be singular or plural depending on their use in the sentence. A herd of elephants is crossing the road. Those two herds of elephants are crossing the river. A herd of elephants is a singular collective noun used to refer a single group. Hence, we use the singular verb is. In the next picture, two herds of elephants are there. So, we use the plural verb are. The verb is singular if the sentence begins with each, someone, either, none, anyone, neither, nobody, somebody, no one, anybody, everyone, everybody. Let's see the example. Each of the girls has long hair. Here the sentence begins with each, so it takes the singular verb has. In sentences beginning with here and there, the subject is placed after the verb. I repeat it, children. In sentence beginning with here and there, the subject is placed after the verb. There are 5 books on the shelf. Here comes my naughty brother with his kite. In both the sentence, you can see the subject is placed after the verb. More verbs. A verb may be more than one word. Often the meaning of a verb is clear when we add a helping word. Look at the first 2 sentences, children. I reading a newspaper, Soumya playing with her cat. It doesn't give a proper meaning. Now read the next 2 sentences. I am reading a newspaper. Soumya was playing with her cat. By adding the verbs am and was, the sentence is meaningful. So these are called helping verbs. A helping verb is also called an auxiliary verb. It is used with the main verb to form a verb phrase. Words such as am, are, is, was, were, have, has, had, do, does, did, be, being, been, will, shall, can, could, would, should, might, and must are common helping verbs. Example, we can visit the museum tomorrow. Here, visit is the main verb and can is the helping verb. It was raining heavily in Mumbai. Raining is the main verb and was is the helping verb. Now let's see about the modals. Words such as can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, ought or must are called modals. We use them with main verbs to express ability, possibility, certainty, permission, intention or obligation. First, let's see about ability. Can and could. Ability means power or capacity to do something. Priya can paint very well. Lisa could paint well when she was just 3 years old. Here can express the ability and could is the past tense of can. Possibility. Possibility means a chance that something may happen or may not happen. Here two words are given, may and might. May indicates that you are more likely to do something and might indicates less likely to do something. Here we may go to the beach tomorrow. This evening's flight might be cancelled because of bad weather. Intention. Intention means something you want and plan to do but has not yet completed. So, planning is called intention. I will wait till the train leaves the station. I shall start as soon as it leaves the station. So, will and shall is used for intention. Certainty. Certainty means a state of being completely confident that cannot be doubted. Example, the school notice says we will have the assembly. I shall carry an umbrella today. So, this will happen confidently without doubt. That is called certainty. Permission. Here, may, might, can, could. All the words are used for permission. May I go home now? Might I borrow your car? Can he come with us? Could I open the window? So all the words may, might, can, could is used for asking permission. Obligation. Obligation means duty or responsibility. You should wake up early. You must finish the chapter before you go out. Should is used as an advice. Must is used in the stronger form. All verbs can be divided into two categories, finite verb and non-finite verb. Non-finite verb is further classified into participle, gerund and infinitive. Finite verb. A finite verb will change with the tense, person and number of the subject. A finite verb will change with the tense, person and number of the subject. First, tense. The subject is performing the action in past tense, present tense and in future tense. Second, person. That is, the subject is first person, second person, or third person. Third, number. That is, the subject is singular or plural. So, a finite verb will change as per the tense, as per the person, and as per the number of subject. For example, I play cricket every day. This sentence is in present tense. Here the verb is play. The second sentence, I played cricket yesterday. This sentence is in past tense. Here the verb is played. You can see the verb play is changed into played as per the tense. So, both play and played are finite verbs. Now let's look into the example of verb that change as per person. I run a mile daily. Here the subject I is in first person. The verb here is run. The second example, he runs a mile daily. Here the subject is he and it is in third person. The verb here is runs. You can see here the verb run changed to runs as per the person. So, both run and runs are finite verb. Now, let's look into the example of verb that changes as per number. That is, the subject is singular or plural. Arun plays the guitar. The subject Arun is singular. Here the verb is plays. Now let's look into the another sentence. Vicky and Joel play the guitar. Here the subject is in plural and the verb is play. You can see here that the verb plays is changed into play, changed from singular to plural. Non-finite verb. A non-finite verb does not change its form even when the person and the number of the subject changes. For example, Rohan likes to swim. Shasha and Jiju like to swim. Here, the tense of the verb swim does not change with the number of the subject. Gerund. A gerund is the ing form of the verb that is used as a noun. Example, Naveen is learning driving. Mummy and Papa know driving. Naveen is learning what? Mummy and Papa know what? Driving. Here the verb driving acts like a noun. So, gerund acts as noun in a sentence. Participle. A participle is a verb that ends with ing, d, ed, en, d, t or n and works as an adjective. See the example, children. I really like this dancing doll. The burnt toast tasted awful. Here, the main verb is like and dancing is secondary verb in ing form. As it is describing the doll, it functions as adjective in the sentence. The second example, the main verb is tasted and the burnt is the secondary verb. As it is describing the toast, it functions as adjective in the sentence. So, a participle acts as an adjective in the sentence. Infinitive. An infinitive is the base form of the verb. It is often used with to. For example, Anu is eager to cook. Will Soma agree to stay with us? The verbs to cook and to stay act like nouns here. Children, I hope you have understood this lesson. Now we have learned verbs, subject-verb agreement, rules for subject-verb agreement, helping verbs, models, finite verb, non-finite verb, gerund, participle, and infinitive. Learn the concept thoroughly, children, and do the worksheet. Thank you for watching.